The School of the Lady of Baqi, Lady al-Banin, peace be upon her. Chapter 10. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم واتقوا الله لعلكم ترحمون. Believers are each other's brothers. Restore peace among your brothers. Have fear of God, so that perhaps you will receive mercy. Surah Mubarakah al-Hujurat, verse 10. God, the Almighty and Majestic, in verse 10 of Surah al-Hujurat, speaks of the covenant of brotherhood, and according to the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali, what preserves this covenant is muasat. Ma hufidat al-ukhuwa bimithlin muasa. In other words, the greatest virtue by which a believer, when embodying and being adorned with it, becomes brought near to God, is muasat in brotherhood. As Imam Musa al-Kadhem said, ما تقرب المؤمن إلى الله عز وجل بشيء أفضل من مواساة المؤمن. A believer has not drawn nearer to God, the Almighty and Majestic, with anything greater than muasat. Therefore, muasat that is for the sake of God and in the way of God brings about the greatest nearness to God for a believer. This muasat, in its most complete form, was manifested in the blessed being of our Master, Abul Fadl al-Abbas, towards Imam Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in Karbala. As our Mawla, Baqiyatullah al-Azam, may our souls be sacrificed for him, explicitly states in Ziyarat al-Nahya al-Muqaddasa, As-salamu ala Abil Fadl al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen, al-Muwasi akhahu binafsih, al-akhidhi li ghadihi min amsih, al-fadi lahu al-waqi. Peace be upon Abul Fadl al-Abbas, son of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he who showed muasat with his brother by giving his own life, who prepared provision yesterday for the sake of tomorrow, sacrificed his life for his brother, protected him, and went to bring him water, but his two hands were severed. Al-Muwasi akhahu binafsih means the muasat that he fulfilled with his very self. He sacrificed his own life for his Mawla, and through this sacrifice for Imam Hussein, he attained the perfection of nearness to God. Muasat is a virtue higher than devotion and forbearance, for in the rank of devotion and forbearance, a person prefers the will and desire of his Mawla over his own will and desire, but in the rank of muasat, a person has no will or desire other than that of his Mawla, being absorbed entirely in the will of his Mawla. This absorption, in its highest degree and form, is exclusive to the leader of the companions of Hussein, our master Abul Fadl al-Abbas, he who was at all times in the company of and the supporter of his Mawla. This muasat was decreed by the command of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali even before the moon of al-Banin set foot in this world, at the time when Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali said to Aqil, "Choose for me a wife from whom a son will be born to me, who will be brave and strong, who will support my son Hussein in Karbala, and who will sacrifice himself for him. لِيُوَاسِهِ لِنَفْسِهِ فِي طَفِّ Karbala," who would show muasat with his very self for Hussein in Karbala. In other words, this support, companionship, and self-sacrifice was born from the school of Lady al-Banin, for from the very moment her son entered this world, al-Banin would circle the swaddled Abbas around the head of Imam Hussein to teach her son this path of self-sacrifice and to make it a provision for his future, meaning that in Karbala, her son would manifest this shielding and self-sacrifice in its most complete form. As it is mentioned in Ziyarat al-Nahya al-Muqaddasa, al-akhidhi li ghadihi min amsih. He prepared provision yesterday for the sake of his tomorrow. The muasat of al-Abbas with his masters, which he had learned from his mother, al-Banin, flowed and continued throughout his entire life. At the time when Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali was on the pulpit of the Mosque of Kufa, and Imam Hussein asked for water, although Imam Ali instructed Kanbar to bring the water, it was Abbas who swiftly brought water for his brother. And in the Battle of Siffin, the moon of al-Banin, by the command of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali, went with Imam Hussein toward the Euphrates and freed it from the siege of the accursed Muawiyah. At the time of the martyrdom of Imam Hassan and the tragedy of the raining of arrows upon his pure body, he stood side by side and in full companionship with Imam Hussein. And in Karbala, on the night of Ashura, when Imam Hussein lifted his pledge from them, the first person to say yes in support of his Mawla was the moon of Banu Hashem. Lady al-Banin, the exemplar for righteous believing women, having herself first showed this muasat in the world, meaning that throughout her entire life she showed muasat with the children of Lady Zahra, peace be upon her, thus taught this to her own children in the finest manner. As it is narrated that when Imam Hussein intended to depart from Medina to Karbala, and told the Banu Hashem to bid farewell to the women among them who would remain in Medina, Lady al-Banin did not allow her son Abbas to embrace his mother in the presence of Imam Hussein. At the time of farewell, she also advised her son not to return to Medina without Imam Hussein. The muasat of the moon of Banu Hashem with his masters, which flowed throughout his entire life, was manifested in its most complete form in Karbala, and in the final moments before his martyrdom, it was also manifested in his not drinking water, despite his own thirst, while striving to deliver water to the tents of Hussein, as is explicitly stated in Ziyarat al-Nakhiyya al-Muqaddasa. As-sa'i ilayhi bima'ihi al-maqtu'ati yadah. Since he fulfilled muasat al-akh fillah, that very act which, in the words of the seal of the prophets, is described as the master of deeds, throughout his entire life, at the river of the Alqama he addressed his Mawla, Imam Hussein, as brother, saying, Ya akha adrik akhak, or, O brother, help your brother. It was there that Aba Abdullah al-Hussein said, Al-an inkasara dhahri wa qallat hilati. Now my back is broken, and my means have diminished. Therefore, one of the educational hallmarks of the school of Lady al-Banin is muasat, which is another attribute and essential quality of becoming a devoted, one brought near to God. As stated in the phrases of the special ziyarat for the noble lady of Baqi, al-Awlad al-Arba'a, the mother of 4 sons, وَبَالَغْتِ وَآثَرْتِ وَرَعَيْتِ حُجَجَ اللَّهِ الْمَيَامِينَ وَرَغَبْتِ فِي صِلَةِ أَبْنَاءِ رَسُولِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ عَارِفَةً بِحَقِّهِمْ مؤمنة بصدقهم مشفقة عليهم مؤثرة هواهم وحبهم على أولادك السعداء.